Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live channel episode. Today is the 24th of November 2020. I always have to check the date because time seems to be just going away with us. We are hurtling fast towards December. And I am continuing with my episode by episode review of season 4 of The Crown. This episode is episode 6, and if you've missed my other reviews, I do kind of dissect them part by part, so do go back and check the others. But this one is called Terra Nullius, and that, let me just go to my notes, because I did actually have my notes open at a page and I turned it over. Terra Nullius means nobody's land or no one's land, and of course it is referring to Australia. This is the Australian episode where it kind of chronicles the highs and the lows of Diana and Charles's 1983 tour of Australia. 1983, a vintage year because it is the year that I was born. So there we go. So when I was kind of coming into the world, that was kind of what was going on. Anyway, I digress. Hello to everyone who is coming in and dropping in live. As always, it's a live chat, so I will be answering as many viewer comments and questions as I possibly can. Right, what I'm going to do this episode is refer to the synopsis, go through it bit by bit, and talk about what I remember about The Crown. So, it starts off with Republican Bob Hawke. So he was the candidate that later went on to become the Australian Prime Minister. And let's not forget that Australia still has a constitutional monarchy. Queen Elizabeth II is also monarch of Australia, for those of you who may not know. However, Australia is, fully governing independent and has been for a very, very, very long time. But they still have the constitutional monarchy that we all share if we are under Queen Elizabeth II. So it's seen as a really important tour. The royal family get requested by the government, it's known as a soft power, to go on these kind of foreign diplomatic tours. It's kind of like relationship building. It's known as a soft power. And back in 1983, there was a tour on offer, and the Queen and Philip didn't go on this tour. There was a lot of references in the episode to the Queen's visit to Australia when she was a brand new queen, when she had just ascended to the throne, and how successful her tour was. It was seen that, it was always going to be kind of Charles's almost, introduction as a married couple. Also Diana's introduction, but more so for Charles, introduction as a future king with a kind of a family unit. And it was just a very important tour because on the horizon in Australia at that time, there were Republican sentiments kind of bubbling away, shall we say. And Bob Hawke, who won the election, was definitely a Republican. He wanted there to be a vote for Australia to become to remove the Queen as head of state and become a fully to become a republic and have an elected president, shall we say. Interestingly enough, many years later, Australia did have a vote on the very issue that was averted in this episode, and Australia decided that they wished to retain the monarchy and keep the status quo. How much Diana and Charles's visit back in 1983 contributed to that, we will never know. But Australia to this day still remains under a constitutional monarchy. So Bob Hawke kind of expresses that, he thinks that, this could be the tipping point for Australia, that if Charles and Diana mess up, then it could tip Australia over the edge to vote to become a republic. So yeah, he has high hopes that the cost of the visit will provide the tipping point for the public backing to become a republic. Diana on this tour does something that no other royal bride has done before. She takes a young baby, Prince William, on tour with her. The Queen didn't do that when she visited Australia with Prince Charles and any other kind of lengthy tours. This was a bit of a shock, I think, to the royal family, who had never had that done before. in the episode, in The Crown, it plays out the kind of, shock of the royal family, the shock of the Queen Mother, the shock of the Queen and Princess Anne, who all thought it was a little bit strange to kind of take a baby on a tour. I think the Queen in the episode said something about, what good do babies do in terms of, duty and that kind of thing. Now, we don't know if that conversation actually happened, but the theme that's being explored, and remember, with all of this kind of The Crown fact or fiction, it is all about themes. The theme is that the royal family hadn't done it before. Therefore, they may have considered it a little bit different, and they may have considered it something that they might not have wanted to do themselves. But whichever way, Diana got her wish. The schedule was kind of redrafted to fit around Prince William, who was going to stay for I think a week of the first week of the tour. He was going to actually stay in a kind of like a little homestead, shall we say, looked after by a nanny, whilst Charles and Diana went off to do the kind of first leg. Upon arrival in the episode of The Crown, we see Diana not taking very well. I think at this point she was kind of a little bit unsettled. Charles and Camilla were still in contact on the telephone in the episode. Now, there has been lots of inside people have said that at this point in Diana and Charles's marriage, that Charles and Camilla really didn't have that much contact. I said in previous videos that it wasn't until after the birth of Harry that they considered the relationship irretrievably broken down, and that's when a physical relationship resumed between Charles and Camilla. I said in previous episodes that The Crown had kind of hurried and brought that forward by a number of years. But lots of people, it's worth noting, whether we believe them or not, it's worth noting that key people that were there at the time, also biographers that have looked into this in a lot more detail, have said that at this point in the relationship, there may have been some contact between Charles and Camilla in terms of telephone calls and things, but it wasn't as much as what is being played out in The Crown. But it does show, again exploring the theme, that perhaps Prince Charles's, full body and soul was not entirely invested in Diana, that he did have interests or a mindset for elsewhere. Yeah, the first part of the tour kind of got off to a shaky start. In reality, I think the press at the time were told that Diana was just kind of adjusting and all that kind of thing in the kind of early leg. We saw things such as, she gave an interview in the Crown version where she made a mistake and called Ayers Rock Ayers Dock and that kind of thing. I mean, again, I haven't actually seen... I actually... After this episode, I went to look to see if I could find some interviews. And there are some interviews of the Australian tour. And I couldn't find anything where Diana had called it Ayers Dock. I may be wrong. I may have missed something. If any of you have seen a clip or something where she calls it Ayers Dock, I would like to know. Otherwise, I'm probably going to say that little bit might have been a bit of fiction, maybe. But again, the theme is that the start of the tour... didn't go off to that much of a good start, but it ended very much on a high. We saw them visiting Ayers Rock, which I think now is called Uluru, I think, and we saw Diana being chastised by Charles for being, weak and not making it up as high as he did in Ayers Rock. Again, we don't know if that happened. I have actually seen a news clip, where she did go up, but then the clip that I saw ended when she was, kind of part way up. So I don't know whether or not she came down and kind of claimed heat exhaustion. That, I'm afraid, I cannot tell you. If you've seen a clip, then let me know. I think I just seen something pop up on the screen saying the Ayers Dock did happen. I would love to see a clip of it. I've looked and I can't find it. I've seen lots of different kind of interviews and I couldn't see it. Let's put it that way. So, if any of you do know where it is, do let me know, and I will, of course, take a look at that. Right, so, after that kind of shaky start, Diana, we see in The Crown, she chastises one of Charles's members of staff. And basically, she kind of tells him that above anything, she is a mother. and, you know, in other words, she's putting family before duty, which I think is the first time that's probably kind of happened almost in that immediate family. So, you know, Charles is left in no uncertain doubt that William is non-negotiable when it comes to being on the tour with them. So, plans are changed. She actually, you know, gets him to promise that they will go back regularly to see William. They go back and they end up having a bit of a heart-to-heart. I mean, again, we don't know if this conversation ever happened, but again, it explores the theme of Charles's relationship with Camilla. In the Crown version, they have a chat. Diana kind of tells of her unhappiness, and we actually see something that I've been talking about for a very long time, and that is both of them kind of say how similar they are in terms of their needs, and that if either of them need, you know, the attention and adulation or a pat on the back, that they will give that to each other. Now, it turns out, as we know, and as I've said many times, they weren't able to do that for each other. They were both very needy in the same way, very emotionally needy because of abandonment from two different things. Diana with her mother leaving, and of course Charles with kind of almost semi-absent parents. They both had the same issue. They both needed the same support, but they couldn't give it to each other. Anyway, mid-tour, things start to pick up. Diana seems to be enjoying the tour a lot more. And I think that does kind of bear out in the photographs and videos that do exist from the time. Diana at that point seems very, very happy, very cheery, and things seem to take, you know, a positive turn. It's at that point on this tour that Diana mania kind of comes into existence. Australia is bowled over by Diana. When they do a walkabout, they're all calling for Diana, and on Charles's side, they're asking about Diana. Charles distinctly gets the message during this tour that really he's playing second fiddle to his wife. She's the young, glamorous newbie on the block, and everyone is absolutely obsessed with Diana. It is full-on Diana mania. And during a speech, which he did actually make, I've seen the clip of the speech, he did make a bit of a joke about kind of having two wives and all the rest of it, and he could direct them either side. And Diana didn't really see, I don't think, the funny part in that. Although we don't know about the conversation afterwards where Diana kind of chastised him about that, we can see in the original clip that, you know, although she's being a bit coy and a bit, you know, waspish about it, we can tell that perhaps she's a little bit pursed-lipped and maybe not completely happy about Charles's comments when it came to that. Anyway, back to Bob Hawke, who then realises that, you know, any Republican sentiment is going out of the window. Diana is completely winning over Australia, and that this tour has probably saved Australia in terms of leaving the constitutional monarchy. Let's go and take a look. Then the scene in The Crown goes back to the palace, and we see the Queen, and she is watching home movies of her tour in 1954. And in the Crown version, we see a little bit of jealousy that perhaps, you know, Diana and Charles's tour is proving more successful than her own. Again, in reality, we don't know if she got the home movies out and sat down and watched them and got jealous. I don't think so. The Queen normally congratulates members of the royal family when they've done something that's really good, like a successful tour. That has happened, and I think the Queen knows that a successful tour strengthens the monarchy. So I don't think she'd necessarily have been feeling jealous about Charles's tour. I think she actually would have got some kind of level of comfort for knowing that the heir to the throne was popular. So I think that bit is probably a little bit more fiction, or at least we cannot say for certain that it happened. I'm just trying to read a bit more. Oh yeah, Diana's eating disorder, it worsens. So again, we see more sort of purging and binging and then purging. Basically, whenever Diana is kind of unhappy, not feeling loved, not feeling wanted, not feeling listened to, that is when the bulimia kind of kicks in and gets worse and worse. And again, I am so glad that they have actually chosen to depict this in the way that they have, because it shows, you know, pretty much the reality of the illness. When they arrive back in the UK following a successful tour, there's this wonderful scene of them kind of both going off to different houses. Charles jumps in the waiting car and goes back to Highgrove, presumably to, you know, see Camilla, maybe, even as platonic friends at that point. And Diana requests to go to her Kensington Palace home. And that's kind of the episode in a nutshell. There's also this wonderful scene at the start that kind of shows, again, Charles and Camilla's kind of ongoing relationship, where they kind of share this elaborate joke in front of friends, and in fact in front of Andrew Parker Bowles, Camilla's husband. And that kind of shows still how close and how much they enjoy being part of each other's company. Let me know your thoughts on the episode. I really would like to know. I am going to go now and kind of read some comments. Mason says, thank you for always reviewing The Crown and the royal family, and I greatly appreciate it. You're more than welcome. Hello to everyone who has just dropped in. Oh, apparently the pronunciation, it's Uluru. 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 Is that how you say it? I think. Julia says, I'm old enough and I'm Australian. I remember all of this. Diana did not get chastised by Charles on climbing Uluru. Well, there we go. That kind of confirms what I thought. I did think that was kind of a little bit fictional. And like I said, I went back and watched the clip and I didn't see anything. I mean, there wasn't even a woman behind her with an umbrella like there was in The Crown. But anyway, and it did not rain when the plane landed. It was blazing sun. Well, there we go. First-hand knowledge. You can't get better than that. Prince William did not cry, was not seen to cry once in the whole tour. Again, there you go. You can't get better than first-hand experience. Tisha's followed Diana since you were a teenager. Mercury Angel says, while I did think Charles wasn't as supportive as he should have been, The Crown made him out to be a real schmuck. Bearing in mind, I've only got to episode 6. And at this point, I think they've kind of, although they've elaborated and embellished certain things and certain conversations, the themes I'm actually quite happy with. And I think they've kind of got the theme spot on. Some of the time frames are a little bit off. But in terms of, I think, how they've handled the complex characters that are involved here, I kind of think they've almost got it right. And I think a lot of people are kind of saying, oh, you know, that they don't recognise the character that's portrayed. I've only got to episode 6. And actually, this Terra Nullius episode did kind of show, I think, that kind of sensitive side to Charles. I think he did want to make things work with Diana. But, like I said, the outside pressures of not being able to give each other what they needed kind of crept in over time and, you know, drove a wedge between them that was irretrievably broken down. So far, I'm on board with how they have portrayed everybody. The main members of the royal family have been portrayed as being a little bit unfeeling, a little bit reserved in their emotions. And although it might not be to the extent that has been portrayed in The Crown, I think to a certain extent it's kind of true. You know, they are a little bit more reserved. The end of the episode where Diana gave the Queen a hug. Now, we don't know if that happened or not. I mean, the Queen certainly didn't go like that when she was being hugged when Michelle Obama went to hug her. You know, well, put her arm around her. So I don't think the Queen would have kind of recoiled in horror. But again, the theme is that probably not many people would have gone up to the Queen and just given her a hug. So it would, you know, if that had happened, it would have been something perhaps a little bit odd for the Queen. Let's carry on with some of the comments. Bev says, since the Queen had nannies at her disposal, I'm surprised that she did not take her children on tours. It seems like Her Majesty could have made it work with nanny assistance. They were of a different mould back then. They were of a different mindset where, almost like the Victorian, where, the kids were often kind of brought down for an hour for the parents to kind of see, before or after lunch. I think, the royal family was still kind of pretty much of that mould back then, which is a lot of modern people can't relate to. And that's what Diana did. Diana reconnected the royal family on a personal, human level. Right, I'm going to kind of go down a bit more. Mercury Angel says, yeah, I did get photos and was pleasantly surprised at how adorable she was, and Charles looked a lot better in person than on TV. Gail said the bulimia was reality, but I'm finding this season very painful to watch. Charles is a great guy, so painful for the whole family to have all this dug up, so sad. Yes, we are in recent territory for the royal family. We know that Prince Harry has actually expressed a wish that he will insist. I don't know how he's going to insist, but he says he's going to insist that the crown kind of stops before it gets to his kind of era, so to speak. Again, we'll have to wait and see if he wins out on that one. But the creator has said that they want to leave almost like 20 years of history between, reality, between the present and where the crown goes up to. So maybe Harry will get his wish after all. I think actually they should end the series on the 2005 wedding of Charles and Camilla, which would kind of be full circle, and I think would be quite a good point to end the programme on. Although money talks, so will Netflix The Crown kind of, just do it anyway? I don't know. Money talks. We all know it does. Mercury Angel... Oh, I've read that one. Let's have a look. Mercury Angel says, the first event Diana had a black and white suit. The second one, a rock concert. She wore a black suit with a snake brooch. The cameras wouldn't stop flashing. Yes, Diana Mania had definitely hit. PP1 says they're exploring themes that it was widely reported Charles and other members of the royal family, including the Queen, were at times incredibly jealous, insecure about how very bright Diana's star was. Yes, but again, just because something is reported, a little bit like now, a little bit like in today's world, just because something is reported doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So again, we have to bear that in mind. Mercury Angel says the boys were at the hotel and apparently having a great time, especially Harry, Harry wasn't born at this point in the tour. It was just William, and William was a baby, unless we're talking about something different. Nancy says, yeah, but still a matter to the doesn't matter what generation you are, you would want your babies with you, the price of being a queen, I guess. The royals are very different. If you take kind of your mindset, and I think if you could put your mindset in the mindset of a royal, but still keep your own conscience, I think you would absolutely be blown away by how different they are, really. Mercury Angel says, there was Bryan Adams, Kenny Rogers, and a few other Canadian artists. What? On the tour? I didn't see those. Mason says, love your brooch, where'd you get it? It's one of my nan, who is now deceased, it was one of hers, and it's a Scottish Highland brooch with Scottish Highland feathers. Very Balmoral, I think. So yes, I enjoyed the episode. It was kind of in stark contrast to the last episode with Fagin, where there was a lot of kind of muted colours and everything was kind of very indoors and very gritty. This tour was very bright, was colourful. We saw Diana with those big kind of recreations of the outfits of the day, which again, wardrobe did an absolutely amazing job. They always do. They completely smash it out of the park. Again, a very contrasting episode. Right, let me see what's next on the list for me to watch. And I might not watch this tonight, so the next review might come in a few days. But if you're watching on catch up, it'll probably be already there. So just go and binge watch my reviews. The Hereditary Principle is next. Ooh, I can't guess. The Hereditary Principle. Well, hereditary means line of succession. So is it another something to do with Charles, or I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I will get there when we get to it. Right, Travis says, I wanted to ask you yesterday. Oh, go ahead. But you've caught me live today. What would you, as in me, have asked or conversed about with the Queen had it been you to break into Buckingham Palace? Oh, good question. Right, well, if I had the audacity, the brass neck cheek to go into the palace and sit on the Queen's bed, oh, you know, that's a tough one. What would I say to the Queen? Well, I would have hoped that there would be a tiara nearby that I could put on, but failing that, I don't know. I mean, you'd probably talk about how much, what thread count are in the towels or something, wouldn't you? I don't know. It's a really difficult one because unless you're actually faced with the Queen in front of you, how on earth would you know what you say? I'm going to throw that question back at you. What would you say to the Queen? Right, Julia says, you might like this story. I saw Diana at the Melbourne Cup, in 85. She came past the fence quite close. She was even more beautiful in real life than in pictures. She was a very, very beautiful lady. And yes, I can imagine that was a really amazing moment and very exciting and completely unforgettable. Julia saw her sitting on her own in the stands and everyone was ignoring her. She did look sad. I couldn't believe that the people in Royal Box were ignoring her. I think Diana did feel very isolated, did feel at times very kind of left out, and I think she probably did feel very ignored. And Diana was the sort of person that wore her heart on her sleeves. You could see from her facial expressions exactly how she was feeling inside. So I would imagine that that would have been one of those moments in her life where she was feeling exactly how she looked. Christine says, I would be too nervous to say anything. I know, you'd probably just stare at her. You'd probably just stare and just, you know, there's the Queen in front of you. You just kind of look and have a good look. Would you be brass neck enough to go over and smell the hair? I don't know. It's kind of like that cotton candy, you know, bubbly type hair. I wonder what it smells like. I bet it smells gorgeous. Cindy says, talking to Travis, I love that question. I did too. I thought it was a very lovely question, and I'm afraid I couldn't give you too much of a good answer on it because I have no idea what I would actually say if I met the Queen. Right, I'm going to leave it here because I do need to go and do a little bit of other things. I am actually working as we speak on my Christmas message. My first draft is underway for my Christmas broadcast. And there's a lot to cover this year and quite a few tricky things to get kind of the right kind of ethos on. So I'm going to go now. Hope you've enjoyed the review. Tune back in for a future review. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and also do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me in Shropshire, mwah to you all, and goodbye.